Good afternoon, Year 4. This is your science lesson for Tuesday, the 2nd of February. Okay, so last week we looked at habitats of our local environment. So we talked about our habitats and we talked about the habitats of animals that lived in and around our area. This week we're going to look at environmental dangers to endanger species. Okay, so we're going to look at that across the world, not just in our local habitat. So, endangered species, what are they? Well, they are a plant or an animal which is at risk of becoming extinct, no longer around. Okay, and we're going to look at that a little bit further in our science lesson this afternoon. But I just want you to pause for a moment and have a little think about animals that might be endangered, or you could have a little look online and see about animals that are endangered. So pause for a second and have a think about endangered species. Okay, so I had a quick think and I came up with an African elephant. They're almost extinct. And a blue whale, so they are endangered. So if we don't do something about it soon, they'll not exist any longer. Okay, so change environments. Living things depend upon their habitats to give them everything they need, including food, water, air, and a space to live and grow. And we looked at that last week. We talked about that quite a lot. Human beings are able to make big changes to their habitat to make it suitable for them to live in. So have a little minute now, pause the video again, and have a think about what ways humans change the environment to suit them. Okay, so you should have come up with things like we build roads, we build houses, we have heating, we have aircon if it gets too hot, we grow plants and to feed ourselves, and we have animals for meat. Okay, so we can do a lot of things to change our environment to suit our needs, which isn't the case for animals, and we looked at that last week, didn't we? Okay. So, some species are very good at adapting to change in their habitats, and these species are able to live alongside humans successfully in towns and cities, so they adjust, they're able to look for things and develop their habitat in order to survive. However, there are lots of species that only survive in a particular habitat, such as a rainforest or marshlands, and when their habitat changes, the species find it very difficult to survive. Okay, so habitats can change for many reasons. Some of these changes are natural. So what kind of natural events do you think could cause changes to habitats? How could these affect the plants and animals that live there? So again, I'd like you to pause the video and just jot down some of the natural changes to habitats that you might come up with. Okay, so you could have come up with a volcano. You could have come up with a hurricane. You could have come up with a drought or floods. Okay, so habitats can be destroyed and plants and animals that live there might be killed. And the animals that survive, they might lose their source of food or water because of these natural disasters, natural events that have happened. So they may no longer have a safe place to live and grow. They mightn't be able to find their food any longer. Okay, so for example, these fish died when their river habitat dried up in a drought. So although this is a natural event that's happened, many are made worse by climate change and so are affected by the activities of humans. So things that we have done have caused climate change, which has had an impact on the environment. Okay, so there's most changes to habitats of living things are caused by humans. So again, you're going to have a little think about environmental changes that you can think of that are caused by humans. So how could these affect living things? So I want you to pause the video again and have a think about what we do as humans that change the environments. Okay, so you might have come up with deforestation. Okay, so deforestation is basically the chopping down of trees and forests. So only a very small amount of the world's land is covered in rainforest, but about half of all the plants and animals live within these rainforests. So if humans go and cut down large areas of the forest to clear spaces for buildings or for farming, this then destroys the habitats of the species that live there, and it makes it difficult for them to survive. We have pollution. Waste from factories and pollution that contaminates the ground makes it difficult for plants to grow. And this means that there's no food then or shelter for the animals that live there, so they have to move on. Their habitat's destroyed. Chemicals and waste are spilled into the sea. They can be very dangerous too, because the living things that live there, they can destroy their habitat also and destroy the food that they look for. Pollution in near rivers and streams can kill plants and animals in the water and poison the water that that lots of animals drink from. So again, that causes endanger a species. Then there's urbanizations. Okay, we've talked about that earlier on with the deforestation. So we build in areas that were once natural habitats. So then there's not enough land or food left for the animals to share. Wild animals can be forced to come and live in human areas to look for their food and shelter, and that can also be dangerous for the humans and other animals that live there. And then invasive species. So sometimes humans introduce new species to an area, and this can have a bad effect on things that already live there. So squirrels are a prime example of this. Grey squirrels attack and kill red squirrels, and they were brought to the UK, and unfortunately they're bigger and stronger, and they breed more quickly than red squirrels, and that means that the red squirrels then become in danger of being extinct. Okay, so task bomb. I'd like you to fill in the environmental changes activity sheets. Okay, give examples of environmental changes and how they affect living things. So here is an example that has been done for you. So again, you can pause the video to use this example to help you. Okay, so back to endangered species. So many things that are endangered are because of humans have destroyed their habitat. So living things can be endangered means that there's not many of them. So a living thing that is endangered means there's not many of them left on the planet, and scientists are concerned that they may become extinct. So here's just an example of some of the endangered species. So if these species aren't protected from the changes in the environment, then they'll become extinct. So here is an example of some animals that are already extinct. So the dodo, the Tasmanian tiger, and the cry violet, they're already extinct. They can never be brought back. So, task 2. I would like you to choose an endangered animal. Draw a picture of the animal, describe the animal's habitat, explain what changes to the environment have been made for the animal to then become an endangered species, and suggest what can be done to save the animal from extinction. So, pause the video again and complete task 2. Okay, how can we help? So we could find out more. We could find out how we could protect the endangered species, and we could tell our friends and family. And the more we know about the amazing things, then the less risk there'll be at extinction. We could reduce, reuse, recycle. So making new products uses lots of resources, and when the resources are taken from the world, habitats are destroyed. So make sure that we reduce and reuse and recycle as much as we can. Saving energy. Wasting electricity causes unnecessary pollution that damages the environment and harms plants and animals. So switching off appliances. So when you're not using your bedroom light, switch it off. If you're not using your computer, switch it off. It'll make the world a better place for living things. Think local. So many species in the UK are also in decline. Think about the endangered species in our area and what we could do to protect them. And then finally, support wildlife charities. There's lots of wildlife charities who do very important work to help protect endangered species. So you could maybe find out about a wildlife charity. You could maybe produce a poster advertising them. Okay, I look forward to seeing the work that you produce year 4. Well done.